Hello my loves, this is another video response to the tag Top Tarot Trumps. It was started by Musings by Marsha. It's a really fun tag where for each of the major arcana in the tarot we're showing 5 examples from different decks. It's a really fun one to follow and to see all the responses showing people's different examples because number one, it's a really good way to find some new decks that I've never seen before, and number two, it's always really fun to see why people like the different examples of the same card so much. The different artwork, the different interpretations, I just find that really fascinating. We are currently up to the Empress. I am a little bit late as usual, but that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at 5 different Empresses that I really like. Gonna start here. This Empress is from the White Numen Tarot. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. The reason that I like this one so much is I think it's a really different representation of the Empress than most of the ones that you see. I think it's great that she's very adventurous looking. A lot of the time, the Empress, of course, the classical image, she's reclining on a couch, and so a lot of representations, she's, seated or reclining. And this Empress is, according to the guidebook, walking against the wind. So it's kind of like she's set off on this grand adventure, which I really like. I like how it's got this sort of vibrant color scheme as opposed to the more like earthy tones that you usually get in representations of the Empress. I had this thought when I was thinking about why I liked this one, that it seems to me like I associate the Empress with wisdom a lot, because a ruler, of course, has to be wise in order to be a good ruler. But the wisest professionals, when we think of, a doctor or someone else in a quite highly skilled profession in our society, know that they have to do what's called CPD, continued professional development. And so I feel like this is almost like a picture of the Empress doing her continued professional development. She's out there walking against the wind, maybe off to see the High Priestess or the Hierophant, get some new knowledge or resources or relationships, something to help her to rule fairly and justly. I also really like the crown of stars in this card because they're sort of cartoonish looking. They're like floating above her head, which I just think is a really cute way of representing that, this idea of sort of wisdom or divine inspiration, connection to divinity ideas. I like the art style that this is all done in. It's very kind of graphic or comic inspired. And I just see no reason why an Empress shouldn't be able to be off on an adventure. So that's why I really like this one. Next one I wanted to show is this one from the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. It's quite possible that over this series of videos, I might show just this deck in all of the videos because it is basically my favorite deck now. This representation of the Empress is really focused on the kind of sensual or physical and passionate aspects of the card. You can see instead of having a heart-shaped shield, this Empress has an actual heart, which is a very sort of like extreme and visceral kind of image that is a good way of evoking how extreme the feeling of passion can be at times, or the sort of the concept of passion even. I really like how as well she's kind of pouring from this container of water that shows the really being in touch with the creative flow and the inspirational flow. This particular Empress is based on, according to the guidebook of this deck, an image of an opera performer who was dressed as the goddess Aphrodite. And I think that's a really good association to hold with this card. As well, just the art style on this one is impeccable. Like there's so many details in there. And I love even the way that the white printing on this card, it came up so sort of, what's the word, contrasting, and just the little details in the trees and the hair. Just really like everything about this card. The next one we have is from the ancient Egyptian tarot again. In my previous video, I showed the High Priestess from that particular deck as well. And I find those two to be an interesting pair in this case because, and please forgive any pronunciation here, it's hard to tell in a lot of representations of art whether a particular goddess who looks like this goddess is Isis or Hathor, or Hathor. So the way that we know in this case is because of which card they're appearing on, if that makes sense. So the goddess Hathor was associated with like quite a lot of things, really. One being the sun or the sky, but also things like motherhood and femininity and sexuality, and also creative expression, things like dance and things like that. So I think she's a really sensible choice for this card. So you could see why she would be chosen as the Empress in this deck. I like how in this one there is quite a lot of symbolism included. We have this cat over in the side here, which was one of that goddess's symbols. We have this like tranquil pool of water in the back, and this lovely abundant looking fruit platter, and also that crown atop her head. And that crown is said to represent both the sun and also, because it's the horns, it's like a cow. So she was a goddess associated with cows, which again, a lot of goddesses of, say, motherhood have been associated with the animal cow. And I like that as a tie-in to the next card. This next choice is from the Animal Totem Tarot. And this one is obviously a cow. So I really love this depiction of the Empress because to me it shows what it means to be in the creative flow state. So the book for this one talks about how quite often culturally we celebrate birth, but we don't give as much attention to the 9 months preceding that, the process of pregnancy and creation, which you can extrapolate into any creative process, you know. We look more at what is produced than the effort going into it. So I like the cow as a representation of being in the moment. So enjoying every step and every sensation. If you see a cow grazing, it's really unlikely that it's going to be worried about what happens tomorrow or days or weeks or months from now. It's basically only thinking about its current sensations. Is it hungry? Is it thirsty? Does it want to lie down in the soft grass, you know? And I think it's also a really nice representation of that connection to the earth element, because of course, being in touch with the earth is depicted here in a literal sense. Being sort of softly cradled by that lovely lush grass. The grass which is comfortable to lie on, but also which is sustaining this cow by being the food source. There's just like a lot of nice symbolism in there. And again, really cute art style. All the animals in this deck are very adorable. So my final choice is cheating. Sorry. These are oracle cards. They're not tarot cards. They are from the Greek Mythology reading cards deck. And they are the two goddesses that are associated with the Empress tarot card. So we have Demeter or Demeter and Aphrodite. And I like to think of these two when we're thinking about the Empress, because as you see, we have the heart-shaped shield with the symbol of Venus on it is what links this card with Aphrodite. And we have the field of wheat, which is what links this card with Demeter. And I think they're a good sort of combination to think about when we think about the creative energy of this card. We have this very like physical, you know, she was an agricultural goddess, and we have this more idealistic or inspirational goddess of beauty. We have the creative inspiration of what might go on in the mind or the heart of an artist, and we have the physical labor and coordination that brings it into the physical realm. Similarly, we have, this idea of love, attraction, motherhood, protection. Demeter is very well known for having been very protective and very persistent. So I think those are just really great traits to associate with the card of the Empress. And these are both, of course, very powerful goddesses, which is reminiscent of this notion of being a ruler, an empress. So those are my 5 favorite examples of the Empress in different tarot decks and one oracle deck. Sorry, not sorry. Thank you again to the lovely Marsha for creating this tag and for being so wonderfully supportive as well in watching all of the responses. I know that's so many videos to get through. So please do check out the tag. Go have a look at all of the really fascinating choices that people are making. I'm loving seeing all the different art styles, all the different decks represented, and my wish list is growing. So if you enjoyed this one, do subscribe. I will certainly be making more under this tag, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.